Who the heck here remembers Inception? That was a heck of a movie, really heck of a movie. Because right now we're here to talk about why events are the number one partnership play for every single business. So I'm joined by my good buddy, Mark Killens, who we did some dangerous things together at Drift, of HubSpot inbound fame, now the CMO of AirMe, which is the very platform that we're freaking using. And if you've loved PLX in this experience that we've poured our heart and souls into, the AirMeet team has poured their hearts and souls into. Can I get a heck yes, a hell yes in the chat right now? Come on, let's see some love. All right.
Let's go.
Mark,
Giddy up.
so
What's up,
happy to be
Jared?
here with you, man. So happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so happy. So happy. So thankful for the partnership. And folks, thanks for coming. Hope you're enjoying the AirMeet experience. If you have any feedback, good, maybe not so good, just shoot me a DM. If you haven't used the direct message feature at AirMeet, check it out. Shoot me a DM. It's that simple.
Amazing. Hit us up on that. Same thing with me. You can do DMs right through the AirMeet platform. You don't even have to leave here. Don't go open the LinkedIn tab. All the fun's right here at PLX right now. So, Mark, we're going to kick this off. We're not going to belabor the point. GTM's getting harder. Duh, we get it. Layoffs everywhere. Not saying the same thing. Why are events the number one partnership play? And I think we both have the same answer. Mark, why are they the number one partnership play?
Well, let's break this down. So, an event forces you and those partners that you might be doing the event with to commit to a day, a time, a theme, an audience. You got to commit, Jared. And that's the most important thing when it comes to, first off, just trying to start a relationship and then nurture and grow that relationship. Commitment.
Yeah, it's a forcing function, right? And this is an insight where like Isaac, I remember him telling me, he's sitting on the couch over here. He's listening in on this session right now. He remembers saying, I don't want to be an events company. And the reality is events are a forcing function. And I think it actually takes a lot of conviction and belief to put your reputation on the line. And that's why a lot of people are scared. It's like, do we have something interesting enough to have our audience, our community, our partners show up to and contribute to? So I think it is a forcing function, but you got to have that like shared belief in a better way, so much so that you are willing to put your reputation on the line, that you are willing to produce content and an experience that is just totally outside of the box and unique. And hey, maybe that's just good marketing, right?
I mean, if you just have an idea, I advise a company right now that's super early, right? Like not even seed. They did an event, not with AirMeet yet. That's fine. That will change. And there's like, hey, I want to try to get this network of people we know to this, 60-minute debate panel style webinar, right? So it was a debate with 3 people. And like, oh, if we could get 50 people, that'd be amazing. They got 250 people because those 3 people helped drive some of the registration. They learned so much during those 60 minutes, way more than they could ever have imagined. And they're like, minds blown. They're like, wait a minute. Wait, what is this? Like, what did we just do?
I mean, look at this right here. I mean, Partner Hacker as a brand really was non-existent prior to the launch of the site in May, not May of last year, May of this year, which is just wild to think about. And we kicked off like ecosystem week. We've done some first Fridays, we're hitting the stock and the flow. So like, here's a tactical tip and takeaway. Stock and flow is a great concept where you're thinking about flow being in the feed on a daily basis, daily email, like whatever. We're with you every day at Partner Hacker. But then these stock events like PLX, I promise this is going to be sitting around with you all throughout next year, right? The production value, the content, the quality, the people that we've brought together to speak to this topic of partner-led marketing, like it lives well beyond that time of that forcing function as well. So we bring more to the table than just a moment in time, right? It's not just poof, gone by. They also stick around. That can help us also fuel the flow. And like, in case you missed it, all sorts of other ways that it ends up, not just the pre-promo, but the post-promo, right? You can translate this into different types of content, et cetera. Mark, you've seen incarnations of this in so many different ways, inbound, rev growth, hyper growth, and now at AirMeet, you're seeing all sorts of different types of events. Maybe let's unpack that for a little bit about the, bringing these people together on the speakers and the promotion side. Why might events, with that 3-person, startup, right? Like, hey, they can kind of put 250 people together. Let's talk about the bigger co's, right? How might a partner person, a marketing person help try and align the team to go, hey, let's put on an event and put our stake in the ground that this is what we believe?
So let's get to that. Let's unpack this bit by bit, though. So, folks, if you have questions, comments, like below us up in the chat or the Q&A, we'll bring you on stage even. Like raise your hand. Someone in the back end will bring you on stage. We'll even do that. So, First, though, going off your thing about like forcing function, events and a few other things in marketing and sales, but events in particular act as a center of gravity. They have this gravitational pull. And if you we'll unpack that in a bit, you kind of just started to explain that. The other thing events do is help you create or develop attention, right? And then intention. So attention and intention. And we should unpack that as it relates to the next comment I have, which is around you have to rethink what is an event in your mind. Because a lot of people think an event is like, oh, it's like inbound, right, Jared? Like maybe they think of this as an event now because it's a big virtual online event. No. An event can be anything from a 15-person online experience that lasts 30 minutes, right, to an in-person experience that's 10,000 people, to an online training event where you're doing it for 6 weeks with a class that you stick together.
Right.
And you have like 6 or 7 events through that class and training, right? So I want to reiterate there's some like mindset shifts that have to happen for you to fully embrace the idea of event-led growth. And the way it acts as a center of gravity, let's unpack this a little bit, goes kind of to your question, is it helps you, of course, increase attention within the audience you're trying to build, especially if you pick the right partners. And a great marketer always starts with the who. So when you think about your event, your content, anything you do in marketing, in sales, in partnerships, you always want to understand who is this for and why would they care? Like,
Is that the
what's in
intention
it for them?
component? Is that the intention component? The attention versus intention. I want to unpack that a little bit more because that
we can-
continuum,
let's go.
is it a continuum? Is it concurrent? Like what's that framework? I mean, we're mental model geeks. Attention versus intention. Unpack that.
Yeah, I mean, so attention to me, media tries to get your attention. And like, what's an event?
Right.
It could be for a media-centric purpose. This, in my opinion, this event this week is a blend of attention and intention. What's intention? Intention is when you're saying, wait a minute, I want to go and pursue this knowledge and I want to try to understand this thing, or I want to go buy this thing because now that I know about it and I understand it a bit, maybe it's even more than I understand it. Maybe it's like, hey, I really like now want to use that thing to solve my problem. My intention now is shifted, right? So attention creates intention, in my opinion, and a great event can do both. But like we can unpack this a bit more, but that's how I think about it.
It's interesting. I've been talking about this transition or continuum from curiosity to courage to conviction, and I think that it's a similar analog there. And I think there's kind of like starting with like there's like some whys and some hows to like bring this all together. Maybe we can start with some of these things, Mark, like these 5 whys, 5 hows, whatever. We started talking about the belief, right? This belief of a better way, and you're willing to stake your reputation. Is an event is not just about the category or the type of software. Like you kind of have to have a vision out there, right? Like you got to be talking about a better future, a better way. There's got to be something that drives the attention to drive the intention, right? Is belief not core to that?
But yeah, belief is important, but you don't have to have this like grandiose thing. I think I disagree with like, oh, you need to have this like transformational story. I love the South Park gift, by the way. Beautiful South Park gift. But no, like, like you think about an event, right? Yeah, you could use it as a lightning strike, right? I think Salesforce is one of the like all-time from a B2B standpoint masters of this. I see Jill in the comments. What's up, Jill? Like she knows this. She lived the Salesforce thing. HubSpot's really great at this as well. But like, when you think about your company and your growth goals, and you think about, all right, I'm trying to grow this company and we're trying to grow it in these different ways, like really strategic. Like, hey, we're trying to grow revenue by this much in these specific regions for these specific accounts with these specific buyers. It's ABM at the end of the day, right? Whatever. And we're trying to also create more efficiency these days. Everyone wants to be more efficient. Everyone wants to get more from the activity they already do today. So if you're trying to get more from the activity that you're doing today, more value, more ROI, and you're also trying to create a bigger audience, more attention, to turn that into buying intention, I would argue then you want to use things that have 1 + 1 = 3 type of things to them, which is an event. Because right now, I'll give you an example. We're going to deviate. Look at this thing, right? Is the Sangram on this? Sangram, right? Terminus? Anyone?
Yep.
So GTM partners.
Different kind of
G-
flip the funnel here.
yeah, you got F the funnel, flip the funnel, two Fs. So let me give you this story really quick. So GTMpartners.com, they published a manifesto. This big kind of go-to-market guide. It's an online version. It's a piece of content. What did they do with that piece of content? Right, it's a thought leadership piece. So it goes to your comment on like belief system. So it's maybe belief, but I think it's a little more tactical. But still, it's got like that belief-esque to it. They then said, "Look, we're going to launch this thing. We're going to build attention around it and interest, and then we're going to do 3 in-person events." I just went to the one in Boston a few weeks ago. It was fantastic. They did 2 more. Then they said, and by the way, they used this piece of content that's in an online format, made a workbook from it, kind of like what you guys did with this event. Where's yours? Where's your right? You got to have the workbook somewhere.
Yeah, I do. I got
They
it right
created
here.
the run show of the event around that piece of content. They then said, "Hey, we're going to do 3 online." There you go. 3 online events after the in-person event to keep the conversation going and to go deeper into these topics. Okay, so they took one thing. In this case, they took the idea of a piece of content that was the catalyst to create a series of events that brought people together, right? But it was all underneath the same kind of theme, or in this case, it was as a belief and a theme. And they're going to just keep doing that. They're going to build off of that momentum, right? So that's that 1 + 1 = 3 example. Hopefully that helps. You could do it the inverse way. For you guys, you're doing this mega event. What are you going to do, Jared? I know you're a media mastermind. You're going to take all this content, all of this goodness, and create a crap ton of content from it at the same time, right after the event.
And it's content that continues to drive value for the partners that showed up and the people that were here, right? Like the commentary from the people. Like I get a real-time pulse of what's working and what's not working. Like that's the other cool thing. Like I'm not just platforming and making my partners famous. I also get to understand what's working and what's not, what's resonating, what's not, what sessions had the highest rate of attendance, what sessions didn't. And I'm able to adapt in our marketing mix and our content mix faster than anyone else would. But guess what I can also do, Mark? I can share that with my partners. So much marketing doesn't have that real-time feedback, right? It doesn't have the, okay, what worked? It's like, well, let's just see long tail SEO. Maybe it'll pick it up in 3 to 6 months. The Google, what's behind the Google scene? It's like, who knows, right? Like, who knows? Right now, I know what's working. I know what's not. You know, we have industry leaders like Joe Rowley in the chat and Alan Adler and like, friends, people that have been contributing to Partner Hacker from day one, like Jesse Shipman. And then just so many people, because I think it's the only activity, Mark, you've sat across every type of marketing. It's the only activity where you can bring your entire ecosystem together and grow each other. Like, is there another one where I can bring everyone in my sphere of influence, everyone I've ever talked to or meant something to me, and I can say, hey, come here. And then they can bring their people, they can generate value too. Is there another one where that's also the case? I mean, we're saying events is the number one partnership play. Where else can you do that?
Prove us wrong, audience listening. If you think there's a better way, let us know like in the chat right now. Because I can't think of one off the top of my head. No, don't know.
No. Why? Why? Because I mean, it's not to also mention the efficiency of it, right? So like, okay, it's the only place that we can bring everyone together, but not to mention things like Metcalfe's Law, right? Like, I'm not the best economist in the world.
Pay attention, folks.
Right. I mean, so like the cost should proportionally go down as more participant and attendance increases, right? Like as we bring more people to the thing, it's less expensive for everyone else. Is that not a world where everyone can win together? Right? Like I love Airmeet's tagline, even on the website, Mark. I remember when you and I were geeking out, I'm like, what are you guys doing at Airmeet? I think this partner-led world and your event-led world, we're colliding. What's your tagline whenever you go to airmeet.com? What does it say?
Join together.
Together. That's why these things are so awesome. It's because we're all here together. I mean, I've been doing one-on-one speed networking sessions, hopping in and out of tables, participating in chat, hopping on things on LinkedIn. Oh, Mark just gave me the Airmeet flash. I think that meant that I said something smart on accident. I accidentally said something smart.
No, you're 100% right. Like one of my golden rules, I'm sure some people listening have heard me say this on podcasts or somewhere else. I've been saying this for a long time, is from a content standpoint, you want 70 to 80% of all of your content to come from the voice of other people, customers, potential customers,
quote that,
thought leaders, experts, partners. Well, like if you're creating content with someone, why wouldn't you have them try to engage the broader audience to help their audience and your audience? So there's belief. It starts with belief. Like, kind of, do you guys believe in the same thing together? That's kind of step one of how you would do this. Getting a little tactical now. Ideally, you share the same beliefs, and I do think beliefs are often overlooked. And if you want my positioning levels of altitude template framework, I have a whole thing, and it helps you create your belief system. Just hit me up on LinkedIn. Happy to send you that. But what I'm getting at is, what's below beliefs? What do you think is below beliefs, Jared? What's below beliefs?
I mean, you're a shared persona, like an ICP.
Well, it's definitely the who. So let's talk about like the who a little bit, right? So you have ICP, right? Some people call that the total relevant market, the serviceable market, like whatever it is, right? Like you have to at least double click in that to see how aligned is that. And then specifically for the event, you had to get way more specific. Or for a piece of content, let's talk about events. You want to really make sure that, hey, look, we're going to do this joint event together. And you might be willing to say 20% match is fine. Sometimes you won't be willing to sacrifice that. Sometimes you'll be like, hey, it's got to be a 50-60% match, right? And that's all dependent on what are the 2 or 3 plus people participating in the event as partners together trying to accomplish, which gets me into the why. So many people don't think about the goals for the participants, the attendees, the people engaging, and then they also usually don't think through enough, what is the business and my partners who I'm doing this event with trying to get out of it? They make assumptions, and assumptions are very dangerous, Jared. You know this, right? You never want to assume anything. If anything, you always want to assume positive intent. But API. At the end of the day, like, you have to really understand those two things, the who and the why together. Because after that comes the everything else that makes the event so special. But if you don't fundamentally align on those things and really hash that through, unintended consequences can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I will not. I will not mention the person that shall not be named at Hypergrowth in Boston that graced the cover of the Boston Globe the next day. I don't know if you remember that one, Mark.
Yeah.
we won't mention that one.
Beliefs, audience. Yeah.
It matters, right? There really wasn't a shared overlap there. I understood the why is to bring that individual to the event, right? It's like you can learn from people that you don't necessarily agree with, but then can be unintended consequences as well. Like if we went out and tried to invite sales leaders or companies or people to this event or marketers that were very anti our space or like the antithesis, it's not going to work. I want to pivot, Mark, now, since we're already like ripping through into this, and talk a little bit about like the long tail and triggers and maybe, inbound as an example. Right. So like you've got to see many incarnations of events. What about the long tail on the other side of this? So like with inbound, we just heard from Pete Caputa. If you missed that session, by all means, you have to go back and listen to it. Like how he marketed with 10,000 people this year. It's wild. You have this education for agency partners. You have these strengthened relationships. You have so much stuff that is generated long tail for these people. How is inbound an example of this where the ecosystem grew and it's because of an event? I mean, I'm not sure that you could say that HubSpot would be where it is today without inbound.
I mean, it definitely played a huge factor because guess what inbound did? It forced everyone to commit to get together for a week and strengthen or start those relationships and form those partnerships, right? At so many different, like in so many different facets of what partnership means, right? And it created this huge buzz, this attention. It created a lot of intention. I'm sure there's some HubSpot partners like listening right now. Like you had intentions going to inbound, right? Same with Dreamforce, same with any of these events. And what HubSpot did well was we built up, and Salesforce did the same thing. We built up all of this interest in inbound throughout the year by hosting other types of events. Back then, it was like, oh, we're going to host training stuff through HubSpot Academy, live training. We're going to do webinars. We're going to do HubSpot user groups, which were a huge propellant to getting people to be fully committed to coming to inbound. Like they're like, whoa. I experienced HubSpot in a small group and I could experience this again at a scale of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. So you want to build this event wave, right? Like a tsunami, if you will, right? And at the end of the day, what I suggest people do now is don't think of an event as a one-off thing. Think of an event as events, I should say, as a thing that you can use strategically across the entire 12 months based off of what the business is trying to do and what your partners are trying to do with you. So there has to be more planning, intentional planning, a little bit further out, Jared, than I think a lot of people might be willing to go with. So that's my big kind of call to action for everyone. I know that's hard, especially in fast moving startups and scale ups, but like align it to product launches a bit better. Align it to a big announcement when you're entering a new region. Align it to something when you have a co-marketing or some big strategic alliance announcement, right? But like align it so that you build up to that too. Don't think that, or you build up after it's the lightning strike and you keep going. And that's what Inbound did so well, because the Inbound event was that lightning strike once a year, but it was all of these other things going on that created that community, powered Inbound to become so special. So, you know, it's definitely the forcing function, but it wasn't just on its own.
Totally. There was a good question that Jesse highlighted from, let me pull this up, from Roxanne. How are you handling virtual conference meeting webinar burnout? It seems like people are over them. I don't know. We've had over 1,500 people live for this, and people are watching sessions while other live sessions are happening. So I'm sure Mark's going to have a different opinion than me. I agree. I totally agree. And that's why I put so much effort, and the team put so much effort into the experience. I mean, I could just go on and on about the things that we've done to try and create an experience. If it's just like another Zoom meeting, F that. I do not want another Zoom meeting. Like,
No.
I've brought together my friends, the people that I want to hang out with. We rented a house. We built 4 studios. We produced our own song. Like, you go to the reception page of Airmeet, it's this totally custom experience, and I wanted an MC, right? So we picked Adam because Adam's just this amazing personality. Did y'all see his magic tricks? Shout out in the comments if you liked Adam's magic tricks. He's got more in store. The dude is a wizard, like blows my mind. And we've created this experience that's like way bigger than the sum of its parts. Like, you have to care about the experience in marketing. So there's a Spotify playlist, custom song that we produced. Everything about it, the brand, the website, the people, like, I wanted everyone to feel like this was a moment. And here would be my answer to that question. This is my opinion. So Mark, I'd love your, counter to this, because you said that it can be multiple ways. I've called this a moment, right? And in order for it to be a moment, there had to be a movement, and everyone had to feel like this was the start of something special. And if you feel like this is the start of something special, then you want to be here and you've had a good time. But guess what? That same, Zoom meeting with 10 managers debating on X, Y, or Z internally that you're just so burnt out on. Yeah, of course. That's not a virtual, that maybe call that a virtual event, but guess what? It's not. It's not a virtual or remote experience. And that's what I hoped that we've been able to do in partnership with Airmeet and everyone else that's busted their butts to create this experience for you.
Great answer. Thank you for that glowing endorsement and review. I'll hit it even more on the point, right? So, okay, people do have fatigue. What are they going to do instead? They might download some content. They might go to your website. So again, think of an event as a center of gravity. Some people will show up. So are you willing to use an event, either in person or online, to ultimately be the tide that rises all the boats? That's the key way to think about an event. Because you could just create that piece of content and say, no one's going to show up for this event and really care about it. And I'm not going to get any data about people engaging and all this other stuff. But by the way, Jared and the team are going to have so much data. All their partners are going to have so much data behind the scenes now. And there's so many more benefits, but like, you could just create the piece of content and say, that's it, we're done. Or you could create the piece of content, do an awesome debate style AMA around it, invite the CEO to unpack the piece of content with your executive level prospects, and still have
There's
that
a lot more we
event
need to do with that, Mark. That's a really good point. I think that could get glossed over in how much hype that we're bringing. Like,
Yeah.
how you can use events like, hey, let's publish a piece where we have some data on something. And instead of just having the piece of content, do a hour-long session on unpacking that with you and 2 partners. That's such a good tactical takeaway. How you right now today, it's already in your marketing team's content calendar and campaign calendar. Hey, here's the stuff that we're going to be publishing. Go get your partners that might have an opinion on that piece and bring them together and go do a mini event where you can discuss that and debate it. It's a great takeaway.
It's really that easy. I mean, I shared this report because I thought some people might find it interesting that Forrester did with us. But that's what we're going to do with that report. We're going to have a big event with Conrad, the lead analyst who helped us write it at some point. But then we're going to do intimate, invite only online experiences that are also going to be curated with in-person physical experiences along the same lines with executives. It's like so yeah. I mean, you got to rethink what an event is, Jared.
Right. And I think let's end with community. I mean, I've heard the word community get thrown out in chat. I don't think of Partner Hacker as a community because like we don't have the traditional things for community. I think of Partner Hacker as like a movement company, meaning we're just here to like give people what they want and ask for, and like we're helping facilitate a movement. How people associate around that, that's for them. We're just here to like platform, make them famous, cover the stories. But I think what so many people don't get, this is something that Chris Walker seeped into this day a couple of times, even though he's not here, is that the influence, if you're only trying to influence that target account list and those people that are in market, you're not able to build affinity with those other people that may not be in market, but are influencing those potential buyers. So for example, why have this 5-day event with a different theme for each day, like partner-led marketing day? It's because I want to reach the marketers, but guess what? The marketers aren't in market for like the things that we're selling right now, right? They're not. Like, I'm not going to go get every single CMO and director of marketing and VP of marketing here at this event, but I can create the influence and the affinity for all of you that are listening to this today, for you to have that courage or conviction to then go start to influence that marketer. If you're not sending that ABM session with Allison Monroe and Blake Williams and Heidi around, you know, the future of ABM and partnerships to your CMO after this, like, that's the stuff that we're doing. So I think the community aspect is not about having a Slack group where you can DM people. I think the community aspect is about helping people build affinity for the people that they that can be in market, which events allow you to do. The ABM list may not allow you to do that.
I mean, it's what Drift did. They had like no product. They just said like, where they, you know, I mean, you know this. You were there before me a little bit.
Right.
Like, let's just build a brand. Let's build a following. And they used podcast as the jumping off point for that. Right. HubSpot used the blog. I suggest, and what you guys are doing, you're using events as the jumping off point, that trigger moment. Right. If I had to do something today, I would use a combination of an event and a podcast together. So like one thing that I want to do, is imagine if this, go ahead. No, go ahead.
We have 5 podcasts. We're doing a cross pod takeover at the end of each day. So yeah. I'm saying
this is what we want to build in this product too. Like imagine the only thing reason why more people don't use event technology. This is a quick aside for podcasting is the best podcasting software downloads locally to your computer, right? As you record it. Imagine if that was built into an event. You get the best of both worlds. You build the audience live, you do the podcast syndication after the fact, right? And like, you know, so I just think you got to pick something to commit to, and if you're early on, pick something to commit to, and use that as that fuel to grow that movement, to grow the community, to grow the brand affinity, like you said, Jared. And we believe events and partnerships are the number one way to do that right now. And that kind of wraps up the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. What an amazing way to end it. And I'm going to put Mark Killens on the spot right now. Someone just asked, Evans, would normal attendees of the PLX Summit be able to access data from this event, even replays? So like, obviously we can't share all the data that, you know, on everything in terms of people, but I bet we could share the aggregates. Mark, I say after this event, we open source everything. We open up the hood and we publish a report on PLX on like sessions, attendance, everything. And we give it to the people. You in?
100% in.
100% in. All right, there we go. All right. If you want that report, we'll be giving it out to you for free. There's no paywalls on anything. This is all free. This is what this is all about. Mark Killens, everybody. Thank you so much, Mark, for hopping in with us today. And this is going to be so much fun. What do we got next? We got up next, I believe, the one-on-one speed networking. I'm hanging out in the speed networking sessions. So I will see you all there. It's super fun. We've reduced the time down to like 3 minutes, I think. So they'll be rapid fire and quick. Come hang out with people. Thanks so much for PLX. Can't wait to see you all the rest of the event.
Peace, everyone. Thanks, Jared.
Ta-ka! Ta-ka!